when you lifted that screen, oh my gosh, man. The effortless bass and how effortless it just sounds so huge. I love how I've never been in a theater where it sounds just massive. You've got globs of headroom. Like these are even your subs and the volume. Your amp probably isn't even warm. Just from guessing, it just sounds like headroom. I love it. And the sound coming from, like when we watched The Quiet Place, it came exactly from where that monster was. It's not like my setup. I've got the center speaker down there, and then but it's up there. It's just like, wow. It's actually coming from where your eyes are. I just love that. This doesn't belong in a home. Like I mean that in a positive way. Like this belongs in like a massive Dolby AMC theater, like 1,000-seater. Like. This is bizarre that this isn't a house. I mean, like, you've been saving up for this as long as I've been alive. I mean, that's crazy to think about.
Thank you.
That's
you
crazy.
Just said I'm really old in a nice way. Hey, what is going on, guys? Today in my theater room, I've got my friend JP. JP has been a follower for about 5 years now. You may have seen his face on K-Pace Guy's videos. So he and Kyle are great friends, but you just recently moved to Florida. He and I had been communicating probably over the past couple of years on Facebook Messenger. And I said, JP, you're not going to be too far. Now, you did get up early this morning, drove about 3 hours to be here. So I'm super grateful for you making the trip. But I said, man, I'd love to have you over if you want to. He said, dude, I would love to do that. So I just thought it'd be kind of cool to pick your brain. JP, how old are you?
19.
He's 19 years old, and he has a system that I probably didn't have until I was 30 or 40 years old. So you've accomplished something tremendous. So we'll talk about that. I'd love to get your thoughts on the theater room, your experience. I think there was a lot of first experiences here with different brands. I'd love to kind of pick your brain on that. So JP, let's kick it off. Tell us a little bit, who are you and what do you have? What's your system at home?
Yeah, so I literally just moved down here to Florida Friday. So I've been here since Thursday evening, Friday morning. So at home in Kentucky, I've lived there since 2011. So, but I've always loved sound, but the home theater hobby probably it morphed into home theater about 2021. And then in March of 2022, I met Kyle, K-Pace Guy. And over the years, he's, when he upgrades, I'll get his things that he's upgrading from, and he'll give me a significant discount on that.
Gets a good Youthman deal on
that. I know. So a couple of stuff like OSD, they had like some really cheap subs, like little 300-watt 10-inch subs. And like 2 years ago, I remember he's like, hey, I had these in for review. I don't want them, of course. They don't compete with his rhythmics and all that stuff. He has... I think he has a total of 615s in his room, and the room's small, so it sounds incredible. But anyway, he gave me, I think I bought them for a cheap price, or he gave them to me. I had 3 near-field 10-inch subwoofers behind my couch.
Nice.
And at the time, I was freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, because it shook you pretty good, but it didn't sound that great, of course. And then I had an SPL 100 up front, and then, so I started pretty small. I had Klipsch RP 600Ms, and then like just
those are bookshelf speakers, right?
And then no center, no surrounds, just the SPL 100, and then the OSD audio subs blew in like 2 months because I just wanted the bass, but they couldn't do it.
You were cranking them.
I know, I was cranking, and they started to smell bad. But anywho, fast forward to now. So I'm running right now a 7.1 or 2, whatever. No, it's a 7.1 because I got rid of my DN10s. And now I have a SVS PB17 down there. So it's just so loose to say. Like,
he's 19 years old. You know, that's wild. That's awesome.
No, but it sounds great. Just one subwoofer. It just has a hard time because my room is 13 by 24. So
it's a pretty big room. This is 13 by 19, so it's actually bigger than this.
But I've got 8-foot ceilings in the middle of the room. It's got that drop down thing where the AC vent runs through. So it's about 6-foot ceiling in that chunk of space. But so up front, my newest addition to the system, I have I'm just so blessed to be able to have this. It's all the Lord. I've got KEF R11s up front, and then the center is a KEF R2C. And then for Atmos, I'm running a pair of SVS Ultras, Re-Evolution, and then the back Atmos is Prime. And then sides are the KEF Q8As, Q80s. They look so similar, I don't remember which one they are. And then I just sold my back surrounds, which are the Klipsch RP8000 F Mark IIs. My buddy just offered me, like, literally 2 days ago. He's like, hey, can I give you this amount for him? And he just went and picked them up, and I'm sitting here in Florida, and he just paid me. And then for the receiver, I've got a Denon AVR 6700H with an OSD 5180A 5-channel amp. Isn't super powerful, but I love it. And then 4 seats. So 2 of them are the Valencia Tuscany, just the regular Tuscanys, Yeah. And then the other 2 are like a Walienda. I don't know. Yeah, Walienda. Yeah. They're not high end as the Tuscanys are, but I mean, I'm not complaining because I'm just so blessed. But that's back at home. And then, like I said, I have the PB17 and then a Cinescope 140-inch screen. I love that. It's JVC, so you can't go wrong. I love it. It's so 10 years old, but I love it.
So your projector is JVC. It is. And then your screen is what?
It is a silver ticket. Silver ticket. I didn't care too much about that. It's like, you know, it's my parents' home. I knew it wasn't going to be permanent. If it was, I would invest in something like this. But I just didn't care, and I have no complaints. It doesn't rattle. You would think it would, but it doesn't. It's actually behind a window, and then I've just blacked that out and then put the screen over top of it. But coming from that, the KEFs sound great. I mean, shoot, they're $60 after tax. They're almost $7,000 a pair MSRP.
Yeah.
They sound great, but this, it's just the only thing I can express in this setup. It's what I've always wanted, and the KEFs don't deliver. It's like the 1 or 2 things I just don't deliver on. The effortless bass and how effortless it just sounds so huge. I love how I've never been in a theater where it sounds just massive. I've heard the Arundel monitors, the 1528s. Yeah. 2 8-inch drivers, the little waveguide. They're huge. I mean, they're
not bookshelves. These are
they're
massive,
monitors. They're huge.
Like mini towers.
I saw them in person, and they're probably double the width of my KEFs. My Facebook profile picture, the banner is the Arundels, the Klipsch, and my KEFs in one picture. It just looks dope. But those sound great. But they don't sound as big. Like, I can tell just from hearing them that you've got globs of headroom. Like, these are, even your subs and the volume, I mean, your amp probably isn't even warm. Just from guessing. It just sounds like headroom. I love it.
Yeah, some people ask, you know, Michael, can you have too much subwoofer? You know, I've got dual 18s and a 13 by 19 room, 10-foot ceiling, so that's not a massive room. And they wonder, you know, I've got 4 18s, 6 12s, and 8 10s in the room. And they're like, is that overkill? I don't think so. It's one of those things where if you dial them in, I'd rather have more than I need than not enough. So going back to your analogy with the subwoofer, if you've got a subwoofer and you're pushing it to its max, it's struggling. And your ears are going to hear the distortion. You're going to hear it if it bottoms out. Versus if you've got something that is more than you need, now it's just effortlessly producing that content at whatever volume. So typically I like to listen to about -10 dB on my Anthem AVM 70. So in calibration terms, usually 0 dB is reference volume. And to me, reference is pretty loud. But with the Anthem, they're about 10 dB louder than my previous Marantz processor and AVR. So I normally am listening, I forget what I just said, but I normally listen at -20 dB. So that's 10 dB below reference on the Anthem. So today we were at about I think I went up to, I was 5 below reference. So I didn't quite go to reference except for in Book of Eli, and we'll talk about that. But I knew you liked it a little bit louder, so I went 5 dB louder than I normally give demos, but we were still below reference, because to me reference is just, it's pretty loud. But yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts visually. First thing, I know we talked a little bit earlier, you mentioned when you first sat down and we just had the Kaleidescape menu, you're like, man, Michael, this is like, I don't think this is going to be too big. So let's talk about that, because I know a lot of you, when you're building out your home theater, or maybe you've got a certain size screen and you're thinking, could I go bigger but not be too, like, I don't want to feel like I'm on the, the front row of a tennis match, and I don't want to feel like I'm on the front row of a movie theater. So let's talk about that. I'm 9 feet from 150-inch diagonal, 2.35 to 1 aspect ratio. Share maybe that experience. I'm using a JVC NZ800 projector on a acoustically transparent Seymour center stage XD screen. So kind of give me your thoughts on the size of it. Would you go bigger, smaller? Give me some thoughts there.
First thing I want to say, the image is incredible. So I have a reference of just recently what I've been seeing of how I think an image looks. So the first couple of days we've stayed down here, we've stayed with a friend of ours, and they have a 65-inch OLED in their living room. They bought in 2010. And like that must have been like the first gen OLED, because it looks incredible. Blacks are like inky black, just looks incredible. So I've been watching that, and then came here today, and you having to not struggle, but of course the bigger screen, it's trying harder to get as bright and all that. And of course I know you could probably turn things up in the projector. This isn't, of course, max contrast, max color and all that, but it looks so sharp. Like that's the first thing I noticed. There's a scene in Hans Zimmer, I believe, and she's playing that grand piano, and they get real close to her face. I'm like, oh my gosh, it just looks so sharp. It looks so similar to how a TV would. And TV, I think just a TV depends, because an OLED, it's $3,000 or $4,000. I think a TV is just always going to be brighter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it's an emitted light. This is a reflected light, and then plus having an acoustically transparent screen, I'm actually losing some light. This is I think it's a 0.8 gain, which means that I'm actually losing some light. Some screens are 1.0 gain. So pretty much the amount of light that's transmitted onto the screen gets reflected. And then they even have, like in the positive, so you can have a 1.1 or 1.3 gain, which will boost it. But then sometimes there's some artifacts with that as well, like what they call sparkles or sparkly or something like that. But yeah, so I'm actually losing a little bit of light. But on most projections, unless you're going to like a Christie or a Barco, or even some of the new Epsons, the brand new Epsons, they're 10,000 nits for their, 10,000 lumens. Sorry, not nits. 10,000 lumens. So they're able to produce like 300 nits, which is insane. I forget what I've measured here, but it's above 100. So ideally, you at least want to hit 100 on a projection image. If you can hit that, then you can accommodate HDR levels.
Oh yeah.
So,
but it looks incredible.
Yeah, it's definitely not like. It's not the same experience from a TV where that light is just kind of like blinding you. But
it's a good trade-off, because I've just lost interest in watching movies on a TV where you have the black bars, especially in a movie where it switches aspect ratios. It throws me off. It's like, but your Mad VR, when we played Top Gun Maverick, I just loved how it stayed that way. But immersive level, it's just big enough. It's literally the sweet spot. And I know you said you kind of just fumbled into this perfect sweet spot. I know, lucky, it's like, this just happens to look incredible. Like, it's just, you can't help it.
I got lucky because my room's 13 wide. The screen is about 12 foot wide. But I knew that I had to have room for my acoustic panels. When I lift up my screen, I didn't want it bumping those. I wanted some decorative, so we've got a half column over here on the front. So I really built it as big as I could. And my buddy was like, we can always mask down. It's much more difficult to build it bigger if you've already built it. So I didn't know, and I can't really adjust my screen or my seats. I can't really go any closer because that's huge.
You don't want to anyway.
Yeah, and I can't go further back because of this riser in the rear row. So I'm kind of stuck here, and I just went as big as I could, and I just hope for the best. And I love it. Absolutely love it.
I love it too. So one thing that would help a lot of people that I did for my throw distance, so I knew where my projector was going to be. I had my projector set before I threw up my screen, because I knew that's where I wanted it. It was like perfectly where people aren't bumping their heads. Like there's a couch right under it, so unless you're standing on the couch, you're not going to bump your head on the projector.
Right.
Because I do have that beam thing in the middle, so I couldn't mount it perfectly flush to the ceiling.
Okay.
So I had to have a
pole?
Yes. So it goes down about 1.5 feet. I'm 5'7", and it like grazes my hair. So and it doesn't really matter because I'm gonna have to restart here in Florida anyway.
Yeah.
But that you can go into Projector Central calculator.
Yep. Correct.
And that's exactly what I did. I spent about 2 months in there. It's like, okay, what side? Money wasn't a problem for me because I just was going to save up for whatever I really wanted. So I ended up, it ended up being the perfect throw distance because in that software, it'll tell you, okay, you have the projector here and you have the projector screen 20 feet away, and then you type in the size, and it'll tell you how much that projector is going to zoom in or strain.
Correct, right.
So
if it's going to fall within those parameters, because every projector has its own zoom ratio, basically.
So I nailed that. I wanted it to be right in the middle. I didn't want it to be trying a whole lot, especially because, of course, I don't have a Mad VR. So for movies, I have to zoom it in quite a bit, even though movies are probably only about 30% of what I watch. But that helped me quite a bit. So I landed on that 140. But this, it feels like I'm closer in here than I am in my theater. It might just be an illusion. I don't know. But the first thing I thought, I'm like, okay, we're pretty close, and this projector screen is a little bit bigger. But it's just perfect. It perfectly fills my peripheral vision, and I love it. And the sound coming from, like when we watched A Quiet Place, it came exactly from where that monster was. It's not like my setup. I've got the center speaker down there, and then but it's up there. It's just like, wow. It's actually coming from where your eyes are.
Yeah,
I just love that.
So you bring up a good point, because a lot of people, I say a lot of people, there's some people that say, yeah, but an AT screen, an acoustically transparent screen, is a compromise on the sound, and you know it's going to change the attenuation, the top end, and it's going to trim that off. My thought on that is my calibration, room correction can easily compensate for that little bit that you might be losing on the top end. It can easily boost that back up and EQ that to where that's not an issue. But to me, the bigger point is what you're talking about. Having the speaker where the action's happening on the screen. So if something pans across, it literally is coming from there. And what you were mentioning, of course, the bigger your screen you go, if you don't have an acoustically transparent screen, you got to put it above or below.
Yeah, and that distance just gets more and more drastic.
Bigger. Yeah, and so I think our brains know that. I always did. My previous theater room in here, I had my center channel way up there above the screen. I had a 103-inch screen, but it wasn't acoustically transparent. And it was just weird because the sound would come from here and then go way up here and then come way back down. It was just always odd, took me out of that experience. And ideally, we want to build a home theater that keeps us in the experience. And you even made a comment earlier I think you were talking to Kyle. You were texting the thing, and you mentioned it like in between one of the scenes, and you said something to the effect, and correct me if I'm wrong, something to the effect of like, I've never experienced something that I just felt like I was literally in the movie. So walk us through that.
So especially, I love Top Gun because just the planes, and that's just such a defining sound for a theater, especially one like this where it just sounds so big. Like big is like the big word I can think of. It just sounds massive. And I know a lot of it's a combination of how great these speakers are and your anthem, just the processing makes it sound great. And the Trinoff demo is incredible. But when those planes are flying above you, those drivers are so big that they can handle to make it sound like it's actually in the room. Like maybe if you turned it up more just to make it sound like it was actually in real life, but that would be like deafening because they're so loud in real life. Yeah. But I had a hard time believing that, but I had a hard time believing that this was actually like an actual theater. Like it just sounds, every detail sounds so big, like in A Quiet Place where she's hiding from that monster and he's coming down. Yeah. And I know the subwoofers were not trying at all. And I know it could easily, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am wrong, but I think it could easily just kick me in the chest if you really turned it up to want to. But just, especially in Top Gun, like, it's just like my SVS, they're 4.25-inch drivers. The Ultras might be bigger. Yeah. But just that something about this tweeter. It just sounds so real. And I never, if you didn't tell me this is JTR and if you didn't tell me the history behind it, there's no way I would have guessed that this guy started off doing DIY. Like this does not sound like a DIY speaker. This sounds better than I've heard the clips, the reference, the RF7
RF7 yeah.
I've heard those. And what are those? 4,000 a pair?
Honestly, I don't know what they go now.
3,500 maybe.
Close to that.
These sound just. It's just so huge. I'm having a hard time comprehending, and of course, it'll never come by over video. Like, never. But
yeah, that's why we can't really do audio demos. They can experience what you've experienced here, and that's why I always just like to get people's honest feedback. We don't script this. We don't converse. Hey, I hope you say this. It's let's hit the record. Let's have a genuine conversation, and let's just talk about what we love and what we're most passionate about in home theater. But yeah, so to me, I think a lot of that comes from the big horn. So these are big compression drivers.
There's no horn, yeah.
To me, there's not really a horn, but I'm thinking, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but the coaxial driver, so you got a tweeter inside, and then you've got a mid-range driver here, and to me, that's kind of like a horn.
Okay.
So it's guiding that. It's a wave guide, I guess. Okay. Maybe not a horn, but it's kind of guiding that sound. So maybe that's part of it. Jeff's the engineer. I'm not. I'm just the enthusiast that loves this stuff. I like what he's produced, but part of that, and then up front, we do have big, massive horns. So there's a lot of wide dispersion there. You're experiencing why I fell in love with JTR. When I first heard the subwoofers, I was like, I've never experienced anything like this. Like my floors are concrete. I don't have any tactile transducers, no butt kickers, no nothing. What we felt was entirely from those two subwoofers. Even the front speakers, we really didn't feel a lot from them because they're crossed over at like 70 hertz. So they're not getting any of the low stuff.
But it does help them just sound fuller.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't care about bass.
We're not getting the rumble from those. So it's literally 418s.
Wow.
That's what we're feeling. And so I knew I fell in love with that. And then when I flew up to JTR a couple years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, had a chance to hear 3 JTR systems, I'm like,
shoot,
this is what I want. This is the direction and it took me a long time, but I finally, we upgraded the LCR, we upgraded the subwoofers, and then a couple years later we upgraded the Atmos and the height channels and the 4 surround speakers. But I'm at a point now where I'm like, dude, I'm just sitting back smiling. I'm just enjoying it.
Like it's so cool. You can come in here every day and still listen to it for 2 years and be like, oh man, I'm sitting here in my theater. Like this doesn't belong in a home. Like I mean that in a positive way. Like this belongs in like a massive Dolby AMC theater, like 1,000-seater. Like this is bizarre that this isn't a house. Yeah. But I honestly believe, for my preference, because everybody's different. Like I said, Kyle, he loves that precise, like the leaves crunching, like that beautiful, like whatever. But if I'm watching Transformers and they're fighting and boom, he hits the ground, I love how big that sounds. And I truly believe, for my preference, this is for sure endgame. I mean, I know you've said that, but I'm hearing this. It's like, I can't imagine anything that sounds bigger. And I say bigger because that's what I like in a theater. I like the Kefs sound great, but if I put the Kefs in here, they just wouldn't do it because it's 4 6.25 inch, 6.5 inch drivers. And there's 4 of them, but still it's only 6.5. I mean, you're running almost double the size in here.
Yeah, 212s.
I mean, I videoed my phone earlier and I put my hand on that horn and it's like, makes me look like a midget. Like, holy smokes, these things are huge in person. Yeah. It's so crazy. I love it. It's so crazy.
Yeah. Well, you and I love home theater. So let's walk through. So we did some demos through Kaleidescape. I've got a Kaleidescape script. If you guys are interested in it, I've made that available to everybody. Just hit me up, send me an email to youthman@obsessedhometheater.com. Be glad to send you my script. This is just the one that I use. I intentionally do not have Ready Player One on there. I know that's almost sacrilegious, but I do it for a reason. There's certain things in the Trenov clip that I want you to experience. There's certain things in A Quiet Place I want you to hear. There's certain things in Top Gun Maverick and Dune and Hans Zimmer. So kind of walk me through that. What were some things that maybe stood out in those demos? What did you hear, feel, experience, see? Let's talk about that for a second.
So I don't know if it was Hans Zimmer or A Star Is Born, because they're both kind of in that like same setting, so I don't remember which one it was. But there's a scene where she's singing, and just I love how insanely great it's tuned in here. Like her voice, just the natural echo and reverb of that stadium. It sounds like a stadium in here. Like, because I've heard people that like to tune their system to where like they really want you to hear the surround sound and stuff. But it's just like, I'm more impressed if you're not cranking the surround sound, because I can still hear it and it just sounds more natural. Like, I can tell just from hearing it. I don't even think you've told me. Just it sounds natural in here. Bass isn't knocking me off this chair, though it could. The Atmos isn't like right up in my face, but it could. It's just so natural. Like when it pans from front to overhead, it's the exact same volume. Like it's not. It doesn't go from, I'm just throwing out a number, 80 dB to 85 because they're trying to show off their Atmos. It's just so natural in here.
So one conversation I hear a lot in the comments and Facebook groups is, Atmos ain't, it's just not really that great. So one thing we have to keep in mind, Atmos is a format. It's not those speakers. That's not Atmos. That's part of Atmos, and that what's kind of made Atmos really great. But Atmos is just the way that they process that data.
It's object-based.
Objects are moving around and so forth. But to me, when you've got a great system, I think Atmos is phenomenal. The experience is phenomenal. But one thing I always encourage you guys to do is get like an SPL meter, something as simple as this. This is a Top Tees. I think it's like $20 on Amazon. But you can place this in your primary listening position, go through each one of your speakers, and level match them. Odyssey doesn't get it right. Arc doesn't always get it right. All of these auto correction software, they don't get the levels right all the time. So to me, I've found my surrounds sometimes are 6 dB lower than what they should be. So having one of these, you literally turn it on, put it on slow, put it on C weighted, and pretty much just look at the level. So you want all of your speakers, when it goes from left, center, right, surrounds, get them all dialed in. To me, that's what's going to make that a seamless transition from speaker to speaker. And one thing that I like to do in my room, I've always had the thought, I don't want anything to take me out of the movie. Earlier you talked about, maybe if you were sitting in the back, the people in front of you could take you out of the movie. You see their heads moving, things like that. There could be distractions in the room visually. But audibly, to me, if a surround sound speaker is too high, your brain goes, oh, that was really cool. You just totally took yourself out of the movie. You're not immersed. And you mentioned earlier, too, that this was the first time that you've ever felt like you were in like the movie itself. And that's what I wanted to create in this room. And so my bass, you can feel it. It's tactile. It shakes the seats, but it's not overbearing, The Atmos, the height speakers, you can hear them, but they're not distracting. So that's what I like in my theater room. But again, a lot of this is preference. Some guys like to boost their center channel a few dB. I think oftentimes than not, that is an acoustics issue in the room. So they're having trouble hearing the dialogue and understanding it. So they think, I just need to turn it up louder. So they boost the center channel 3 dB or 4 dB. That's not the issue. The issue is your room has so much echo. At the level it is, your brain is going, I'm not quite understanding what I'm hearing. So we're compensating by boosting that. And so I just prefer to level match it. This thing, like I said, it's super cheap. I'll leave a link down in the description. It's a brand called Top Tees. They sent this to me a while back. It works great. Looks kind of interesting. I was like, okay, that's different. But I like the fact that it's got a light on it, so you can see it in the dark. It's got the C weighting, which is really important. And then most time I'm setting that to slow. But yeah, what other thoughts in the system? Anything that stood out in the demos? We went through probably 13 different demos. Is there any of those scenes that just kind of stood out to you?
I wouldn't say any stood out. They were just all different. Like it did. You played some war movies action, and then stuff like Hans Zimmer just showed different aspects. One of them just showed how just not violent, but how great, like you played, was that war movie you played?
Midway?
Midway.
Yeah.
That was just, there was stuff going everywhere, and like Hacksaw Ridge, you didn't play that, but that is an insane demo, because when that war first starts, it's real quiet, they're walking, and then he picks up that guy, and he screams, and then boom, it goes from over here, and I mean, like I said, he didn't play that, but like it was similar to Midway.
Yeah.
There's just all this stuff going on, and it's not distracting. It's not like if I really thought about it and wanted to think about it, I could notice that there's stuff going on above me and behind me, and there really is, but it's not, it's like up here, and then like, yes, there's ambiance back here, but here's the main focus. But I love that. That's just my favorite. Like I love action movies, war movies, but, and then again, like I said, Hans Zimmer, it's just, I love the fact that it's the front, the sides, and above, it's all the same. Not that the Atmos is the same volume as up here, because that would be odd, but it's just, it's all the same volume as it should be, and it's just been so dialed in. But the first thing I noticed when I really walked in here is the acoustics are so tight in here. It's just night and day from out there and in here.
Yeah.
And my room isn't like that, because it's just so huge, and I didn't care to invest in putting as much acoustics, because I knew in the back of my mind I wouldn't be there for an insane long time.
Right.
Because, like I said, it's my parents' house. There's only so much that they want me to do with their basement.
Correct.
But it is so tight in here, like, there is no resonance at all. There's, like, even, like, I do this sometimes in my room to get those high frequencies, like, and there's none of that in here. It's so tight, and I love that. And that just makes the speaker sound even better.
Yeah. Yeah, whenever you can, and you don't want too much in the room. I mean, I've still got plenty of wall and hard surface that aren't covered, but you want it to where, and I didn't measure this. I've shared this very openly with you guys. I did not do this scientifically. I knew where the front reflection points are. You can use the mirror technique. You can Google that, or maybe I'll do a future video on it if you want. But I know how to find those. But then the rest of these are just aesthetics. It's like, okay, we're going to space it out about there. I can fit about 4 here. I can fit about, so it was just what would fit. I've got room up here to put 4 clouds in the ceiling. But everything else I had to move. I mean, I could only put so many because I've got lights up here, I've got air vents, things like that. So I was just limited, and so there's no scientific, but you can, if you know what you're doing, you can look at room decay, and you can see when your speakers, naturally decay off to determine, do I need more absorption? Do I need more reflection, diffusion in the room? So I'm not there. But for a guy that, is just, I'm telling on myself, just putting them kind of random in the room, I think it turned out really great, but something is better than nothing. If you just have hard walls, your room is not going to sound as good as it can be. Now, those of you that have living room setups, I hear this all the time. Anytime I post a video on here, you guys in the comments are like, yeah, that room's an echo chamber. Well, duh, it's a living room. Most people don't have the ability to put these acoustic panels in a living room and clouds. You have to do the best with what you have. Get you some thick curtains, get you some thick carpet or rug, things like that. Put some bookshelf. There's some things you can do naturally in the room without putting acoustic panels, but most people are limited in that. And so, but if you're building a dedicated theater room, or if you have the ability to put some panels in a living room setup, absolutely highly recommend it. I think it makes more of an impact than people would like to think it does. I would recommend doing that before you upgrade your AVR. I'd recommend doing that before you upgrade your speakers.
I wish I did that the first thing.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I wish I did.
I did it backwards. These were one of the last things I did in the theater room over the years. We've been here 18 years now. So definitely that's key. So you noticed acoustics, you noticed the level match, you noticed the immersion of it, the tactile bass. Was there anything that surprised you in the room? Because I assume, somebody that comes to a theater room, you've watched me on YouTube for 5 years, you have some either preconceived ideas or expectations or things you're trying to confirm. Was there any of that? Was there something that surprised you or something?
Everything looks different, like I said earlier. Everything looks different in person than it does on a YouTube video. Sure. And when you lifted that screen, oh my gosh, man. I might just, because I recorded it, like I said, I put my hand on that driver. I'll probably make that like a little YouTube short, like
That's
on my
funny,
quote unquote channel.
Yeah.
Because when something big happens, like once every 3 months or so, I'll post a little 30-second short. I'll probably post that because it's just so bizarre. I had to put it in ultra wide on my phone so you could really see. It's like, I mean, that driver is like double the size of my head. It's like, holy smokes. And it sounds it too.
Yeah.
It's like, gee, I mean, just how big everything is. And then the black ceiling. I mean, mine's blacked out with velvet too. It just makes it look so much bigger.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you painted this all white, it would look really ugly.
Yeah.
But just, I love how big everything is up there. Because my kefs are thin but tall. These are just gargantuan, period.
Yeah.
Just, I love how big everything is.
I love seeing his smile, man. That's, to me, this is the fun of it. I don't do these videos, I promise God, I don't do these videos to brag about me, to brag about my system. I do these videos because most of you do not have the opportunity to sit in Valencia theater seats. You do not have the opportunity to sit in front of a JVC NZ800. You don't have the opportunity to test out speakers like I have. And so me doing an audio demo or a video demo, you're still not going to get that. So the best thing that I know to do is to just get some raw, unedited, authentic conversation around this. What are some things that you learn? What are some things that, you know, that you like, didn't like? I'm okay with somebody coming and saying, Michael, your system's okay. My system's better.
They'd be lying.
Dude, I have no, there's no ego involved in this. I could care less. If you've got a killer system and my subwoofer's pale compared to yours, I'm cool with that. I've seen some $1 million, $2 million home theaters. I probably have the opportunity to film around a $4 million theater here in the near future. Wow. Are those going to outperform mine as far as output and capability? Yeah, they better. You're going to freak out when I tell you what all is in that system. Wow. I mean, the projector alone is $450,000. I don't think my NZ800 can compete with that. Brightness, contrast, all that stuff.
You'd be going like this with that big one.
Yeah, you're probably talking 300 nits on that. Wow. You know, it's going to be amazing. But I'm okay with somebody having something better than me and me still being able to celebrate them.
Being content with
and
what you
still
have.
Enjoying what I've got, 100%. So I just like to have some conversation around some things that, you know, these are new experiences for you, certain things that you have not had a chance to experience. Now you've just got another
perspective.
Yeah. You've got another perspective. You've got another room you've experienced. You've got another speakers that you've heard. And we've talked about your journey. Then you figure out, man, maybe the KEF is exactly where you need to be. Maybe the Klipsch is exactly where you need to be, or the SVS or whatever. But you may hear something and go, you know what? There's more out there, and I want to go that direction. And that's totally up to you. But we all have to figure out what our path is, what our journey is. And I've encouraged you over the years, enjoy the journey. You know, right now you had mentioned how you kind of got, I kind of call it a Frankenstein system. You've got brands here, you got different brands here, you got different models here, and that's okay. You know, we have to build this thing over time. My theater room, I've been here 18 years, almost 19 years. This theater was a blank room when I first started. And I started with a 19-inch TV and a pair of Klipsch speakers and a center channel and a subwoofer, and that was it. I didn't have any surround, didn't have any height speakers, I didn't have acoustic treatment, I didn't have theater seating, I had none of this stuff. And I had to build it over time as funds become available. And I love how you mentioned you're not concerned with price because you just need to figure out what you want.
And I'll save up for it.
And then that's a matter. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to save up. I'm going to sell some crap I don't need. And I'm going to be patient. And I'm going to look for a good deal, all those things, and build it over time so that it becomes, you know, you figure out where you want to head and like your goals, and then you just work towards those goals.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's really easy for people to stumble upon your channel, maybe for the first time, and they see this and they get either really jealous or like man, but like 18 years is a long
That's
time.
A long
like
time.
This didn't come like really, really slow. And I think if people really realize like if they, like people probably wouldn't want to wait 18 years to have this. They want this now.
Correct.
And that's not how it works most of the time.
Yeah. And we live in an instant society. We got instant mashed potatoes, instant coffee. You know, we got Uber Eats. We don't even want to go out to a restaurant anymore. We want to have it delivered here. And I think that mentality has seeped into a lot of our desires and things that we're interested in. And so sometimes we do want it now. We want that instant gratification. But learning to delay gratification, that's part of growing up and being an adult.
Yeah. I mean, like, you've been saving up for this as long as I've been alive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy to think about.
Thank you.
That's
you
crazy.
Just said I'm really old in a nice way. I love it, man.
That's
I love
funny.
it. I do turn 50 in September. So.
Dude, you don't look a day over 40, dude.
Yeah.
No joke. You've been working out.
No, I have not been working out. I need to be working out. That's on my bucket list.
That's crazy.
Got to get back in shape. But man, this has been super fun. Our plan initially was we were going to film this video, do some demos, film the video, and I've got a Marantz Cinema 30. I want to swap it out with my Anthem AVM 70. We're going to do that in a future video, and maybe you're welcome to come back up. I know we talked about this off camera. He may come back up, and we're going to swap that out. I want to see what the Marantz does with this JTR system by itself. Can a Marantz, can an AVR all-in-one power 7.2.4 Dolby Atmos system effectively? And then I want to add an amplifier to that and see like some of the amplification, maybe the front LCR, and let the Marantz power the rest. Then I want to add another amplifier power. You know what I'm saying? I just want to have some fun. So I'm going to bring you guys along for the ride. But JP, welcome to Florida, man. Glad you're here. I know you're in a new venture in your life, and so I'm excited. We're going to keep in touch. I know Kyle's been a good friend, and you'll keep in touch with him even though he's long distance, and Kyle and I are friends as well. So
he's booking flights right now.
Is he?
He's like, no, I'm playing, but he's like, you're at Michael's house. Oh, what's the leash it got? But he's like, I may go down there on vacation. He's a little jealous.
Kyle, you are more than welcome, brother. You are more than welcome, man. I'd love to have you as a guest over here. But yeah, man, so of course, we're authorized dealers for some of the stuff that we talked about, JTR and a Kaleidescape, but that's not what this video is about. But if you're interested in any of that, hit me up. You can go to obsessedhometheater.com. We've got all that. But this is about the passion. This is about, I love the fact that you're 19 years old and you're starting this journey and you're figuring out what you want. And if there's anything that I can do to help you, anything, questions, or if you see me reviewing something, you're like, hey, Michael, I want to check that out with you. Dude, give me a call. Come on up here, and we'll hang out again together.
Sweet.
Cool, man. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe as always, and I will catch you in the next video. God bless.